All right, so the Cowboys lose in a Cowboys way almost. You can't beat a team when you are not winning the turnover battle, by the way, and you have heavy penalties. And, of course, we can talk about the refs. We can talk about Cavante Turpin. We can talk about how off Jake Ferguson was, especially in the first quarter and bits of the second. It's been a team, whereas your star-studded players picked the wrong time to not show up and shine. Now, my apologies for those last night who took the comment that I said about CeeDee Lamb. I get it. We want CeeDee Lamb to be in tip-top shape, and if the NFL ruled him out for the remainder of the game based off of that concussion, of course, his hands were throwing up gang signs and all of that stuff, because when you have a concussion, it rattles the brain and it disconnects your nervous system. So I get all of that. And life is different, right, due to 4K and videos and all of that stuff and replay assistance. So now when you're seeing somebody going through that, you pull them immediately. And I get it. That was the NFL best move to do to preserve CeeDee Lamb. But when we look at everything, Lamb was pretty much on his way for 6 catches somewhere like that, over 120 yards, just remarkable. But it still wasn't enough. The Cowboys were down a lot of points. Slow starts done kicked us into you-know-what all season long. Now, out of the games that we lost, I believe 5 out of the 6 games that we lost, teams are able to put up north of 30 points. That's wild. Now, granted, Matt Eberflus, I get the Cowboys. They don't like him. They love him. So he may be here for a long time for next season. I don't foresee the Cowboys really moving on from Matt Eberflus. They're going to look at it and say, hey, let's build things and put more pieces, because they genuinely like Matt Eberflus. So at this point, Cowboy Nation, after the L that we were able to see last night, it put us in a strange land of conversation. There's a 9% chance. Now, hear me out. I'm not finna talk draft talk until we're mathematically out of it. Now, 9%, somebody can say, hey, Law, get it ready, man. Come on, go to Tankathon, and let's see what we can get in beyond. But there is a chance, 9% chance, and I'm not sitting out here saying that I'm passing out hopium for us to do anything major, because this game last night pointed out a lot of things. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. I think that we ran into a situation that you can clearly see that we were pretty much gasped. And granted, I get it. There could be the other side of the conversation that the Lions played on Thanksgiving Day as well, and we can go back and forth with this, but these things were not the same. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what I also want to say, and what I don't like from the community. 3 weeks ago, Pickens can do no wrong, right? And now all of a sudden, when we look back at this, we're sitting back saying to ourselves, Pickens is the number one issue now. It's crazy because he gave up on routes, or because the game plan wasn't in the wheelhouse of what we are accustomed to seeing from him and being able to be that difference maker. What I'm saying is, just like when CeeDee Lamb had an off game, you're going to get that. But what happened? A slew of offness happened with the offensive line. The 2 tackles were not able to stop a nosebleed. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the earlier of the drive, CeeDee Lamb, with all of those yards that he accumulated, he didn't have a single target or a single catch or anything in the first quarter. That's something that we have to look back at and say, Schottenheimer, we got to figure out a way to speed it up in the first quarter, or to get things moving and grooving. Now, this game was way out of reach. We found our ways to climb back in and claw back in, but we had other issues. Law, what are the other issues? Well, giving the opposition a shorter field. And we saw that in the special teams. Something is going on with the special teams that it's been like this all season long, whereas whether it's returns of my guy Cavante Turpin, shout out to him, but if it's in 10, let that ball bounce in, right? Don't touch it. But if it's outside of the 10, you take it and you run it. But some reason, Cavonte Turpin try to do things of catching the ball when it's inside the 10 or he do some type of bonehead play, and it cost us. Now, on the flip side, even on our returners, when it's time for us to go down there to make a necessary tackle or a block or something like that, we're not filling our lanes. So I don't know if this is a disciplinarian thing. I don't know. But disciplinarian, Tartarian, something got to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I said Tartarian, didn't I? Say, yeah, shout out to the Tartarians and the Grays and all of the Anunnakis. But what I'm getting at, we got knocked around on special teams. Our biggest flex on special team is Brandon Aubrey. And he's out there making a tackle. Something got to change. When we look at everything, whether it's game planning and just being in the mix in the right spots for these type of situations to really occur properly, Cowboy Nation. All right, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have your off nights. And the playoff hopes, they're fading away. I get all of that. But, man, where we lost in this game ultimately was down in the trenches. And like I said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. We didn't get a chance to see a flashing from Quinnen Williams. I get it. Jadeveon Clowney was out due to injuries that hammy. But we know that on that offensive line for the Detroit Lions, they were nimble too. They were not all healthy, and we were not able to stop anything from them moving the ball or from vice versa when it was time for us to run the ball. We lost this game down in the trenches, regardless of how you look at it. For the majority of the game, Javonte Williams was averaging right at 3.2 yards or less per run. And we were not able to make the Detroit Lions play honest defense because they kind of like, okay, this is what y'all trying to do. We can win that particular situation. And even when it was time to put pressure on Dak Prescott, they were able to make Nate Thomas his baby. Here's the other side of it when you are looking at it from this perspective. Nate Thomas, a flash in the pan, hey, plays great when they don't get a chance to study and to go over everything. But Nate Thomas, when people have prep time and being able to take away things that he liked to do, it becomes a very slippery slope for us. The Cowboys, for the foreseeable future, I know that we do not like to hear this. But when it get down to drafting, we probably have to go get another tackle in this particular situation. I get it. Terrence Steele, he didn't have a great situation. Nate Thomas, and we already know when Tyler Guyton is in the situation, it's more the same. He was the weakest link. So we got our cores together from the center to the both guards, but something to deal with the tackles. It's just been a loose end. Now, the quick fix will be we got 4 more games to go. I'm not finna cry over spilled milk, but the quick fix will be this right here, ladies and gentlemen. I feel y'all. I think that somebody need to reach out and just pull Tyler Smith to the side and say, is there any way possible that you can be a left tackle? That would be the quickest fix. I think that our backs up as it relates to our guards are a whole lot better than our backup as it relates to tackles. I think that with this particular situation, Dak Prescott on his blind side, y'all saw when he wobbled and had the Bambi legs a little bit when he got hit from the blind side. The Cowboys, if you value your number one asset, which will be your quarterback, you got to protect him better on that left side, the blind side. Dak did what he needed to do in this game. And, of course, those 2 picks bounce off the phalanges of the players. And now you can argue whether or not those plays were in traffic. And if you want to debate, you can go play in traffic. But here's the thing. Dak Prescott was still on a good one, but it wasn't enough. The Cowboys needed Dak Prescott to get more help. Prescott had another fabulous game, basically. 31 for 47. I don't like that. I don't like him throwing the ball that much. Remember the secret sauce, the formula, but we were such in a back seats of everything, and being down, we had no choice but to throw the ball all around. So it was 65%, 376 yards, and as well as a touchdown with 79.7 passer rating. And the caption says, Dak is not at fault in this particular game. But at the end of the day, heavy is the crown that you will wear, especially when things are not going. People look for your quarterback to be the saving grace.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code LAW. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
No doubt. Download Sleeper and be sure to use promo code LAW, and everything else will be fit right on in as it relates to what the Cowboys can get out of this, and that's Law Nation. That's $20 from me to you when you use promo code LAW, and if you have $100, you put that in, they will match it up to 100% of that $100 on your first initial deposit, by the way. And when that happens, that's $220. Come on, Cowboys fans that's watching this, and Law Nation people that support this. I appreciate y'all so much. All right, with that being said, this team, we got bullied. Let's listen to this part.
Yeah. What I think had us believing that this was different was the Cowboys' ability to win at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And the offensive line got bullied tonight.
They
give
sure
up
did.
5 sacks. Dak's constantly pressured. Both tackles had bad games. The safety that fortunately wasn't one, but that was a missed blitz pickup, I believe, by Javonte Williams.
Sure was.
Who had been so good all year long. And
Yeah.
what
Casualties in this situation. The NFL got antsy. If you look at the terrain of like all of the flags and everything, it happened immediately after everybody was saying, my phone got to rattling. Everybody was saying, look, the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, he's buying this win, and it was spread it all over the 4 corners of the world, right? And ever since then, Call's been really looking crazy. I just wish that at that point, they just go ahead and give the Lions the damn safety, right? If it's going to be that talked about. But even when the ball got there, it was because of the simple fact that we had special team blimps. We got to figure out a way to get the special teams going. I know it's only 4 games left, and the Cowboys, our playoff hopes is shooken with 9% chance.
You tried to run the ball, and it was difficult with that linebacking crew. We talked about with those 2 guys, with Campbell and Anzalone, and how difficult they are. But yeah, you were chasing the game, and unfortunately though, it really you have a chance to make the playoffs. I think the best chance to get in the playoffs was to win the division, and winning tonight would have put a lot of pressure on Philadelphia on a Monday night game.
No doubt. Brian brought us with the great report there. It's any given Sunday in football, and that's universal, whether you play on Thursday, Monday night, Fridays, or whatever. It's any given day that teams can beat you down. But there are tendencies. Since 1996, we lead the league in penalties. We are a very undisciplined team. We can talk about subjectives and these sorts of things, but we get heavily penalized in a lot of situations. Drive killers. Ferg had one of his worst games that you can even imagine. The fumbles, the drops, the inability to get separations and concentrations on what you're supposed to do with your assignments, and to wipe away with that offset and penalties of him hands to the face or holding or whatever it may be. We got to correct those small things. In order for you to be great, you got to correct the small things. That's even in the biblical realms, right? Be faithful over a few things, make you ruler over many. And the Cowboys just don't at times do the small things correctly. Now, running lanes and run game, I get it, but we should have been able to tote the rock a little bit better. And we did a lot of long, drawn-out plays and not quick ones to catch Detroit Lions when you had those advantages. Long developing pattern plays, you got to have your quick ones. So I get what Schottenheimer was trying to do, but the game plan wasn't designed enough for us to attack with short to intermediate passes. One can say when we did try to do that, the ball bounces off of the hands of these receivers and it was picked off. But we got to get better in that sight. Also, with that being said, here's what they said last night about Pickens.
But tonight, George Pickens didn't extend his hands. George Pickens didn't make tough catches. George Pickens not engaged. When they needed George Pickens to be great, he wasn't great tonight. And unfortunately, that's going to happen.
Right.
But, man, they needed him to be great in this big game, and it just didn't go, and Ryan Flanoy stepped up.
My guy, Ryan Flo, he did a great job of stepping up. Pickens, I'm not going to beat him up for having a bad game, 2 bad games. He literally, last week, he had a slow start, but he made big catches and big moments. I think that this game last night, he wasn't allowed to get into rhythm the way the officiating was happening, and I'm not putting this all on them. I'm definitely not. But football is a rhythm type of situation. It's up to your play caller to get your playmakers in rhythm. Not putting them in the backfield and say we're going to have one of your playmakers at the running back spot. No. But you got to figure out game plan wise. Your 2 star-studded receivers should get the ball somehow, one way or another, in the first quarter. They didn't start to even utilize Pickens and Lamb before the injury until the second quarter. It's too late. Too late. And I know we only had a spoonful of possessions, even though we won the TOP game. The Cowboys need to figure out a way to overcome the slow starts. Now, as far as the defense, 85 to 86% of playing zone, I think that's not going to change. That's like asking a zebra, can you get spots instead of stripes? No, that's just for what it is. If that's the principle and the philosophy of this defense, is a zone-based defense, vision-based defense, a defense that like to get pressure up front and allow your guys to sit on routes. I think that's just for what it is, of Matt Eberflus' identity, or Matthew, however you want to call him. So that's not going to change. That's going to be something that remains the same. And unfortunately, the Cowboys going to sit down and look at themselves and say, you know what, did we do everything possible to put Matthew Eberflus in the right directions? And they're going to say, no, we dropped the ball here and there. So look for him to be back. If Schottenheimer don't go up to the front office and say, hey, come talk to me. I get it. Y'all like him. I like him. He's a cool bud. We had a shotty together. But I need something more creative. I doubt if Schottenheimer would do that, right? So Matthew, unless he want to walk away, he's going to probably be here. He's going to probably be here. So what do we need in order for this to work? We need to start working on that middle linebacker. We need to start working on going into this particular draft and drafting zone-based DBs, or going into the free agency and bringing those boys in. Because Siobhan Revel, I'm not going to beat him up. Yes, he's a rookie, but he had some mishaps. And for those who say, hey, he's not a zone cover corner, well, at this point, this is a zone-based defense, so he's going to have to play that. And he has some stiff hips at the top of the route. And on top of that, it's not his fault if you're playing inside leverage and there's nobody there when it's time for the ball to go there to the inside. It's crazy. So when he did play man-to-man, he was able to get grab hold to Brown. Brown really killed us in the first quarter, and it was just rest of the history of this game because he was able to do a chef kiss on that, right? He killed us. We were not prepared, looked like, for anything or everything that he was doing. The last time we really put the locks on him is when we had Jordan Lewis, and he ain't here. So we have a big hole there inside the slot. My guy Bland was planking on the sideline. It looks crazy for us that this defense, as it relates to the secondary, looked very scary. Very scary. So we got 4 games to go down the stretch. The Cowboys better figure out a way, because the special teams, we got to figure that out too. But the defense secondary, Lord have mercy.
What did you lose by? 14 points.
Yeah.
So the turnovers are huge. The field position that you gave up because your special teams unit was terrible.
Special teams was awful. Well, with the exception, your kicker is not
Aubrey,
awful.
yes, and Aubrey had a tackle on special teams tonight.
If they're going to keep giving up the ball at midfield, just kick the damn thing in the end zone. Seriously. I mean, if you're not going to, and you got some guys on that thing, on that special teams that trust me, when we get out of here at 1 a.m. and I get up at 5 to go watch this film, I'm going to watch that kickoff coverage. I'm going to tell you on our show tomorrow at Krusty's Corner at 3:40, I'm going to tell you damn good and well who wasn't playing worth the damn on special teams.
We got to see it. We got to see it. When it's one player, it's that player. When it's multiples or unit, it's coaching. At some point, we got to figure out how we can improve the overall situation. That's the reality of it, Cowboy Nation. The Detroit Lions are as advertised. I know that their record do not reflect, but they do have the third-ranked offense and the third-ranked defense. You can see through coaching that they were able to play the mismatch games. Dan Campbell ran circles around Schottenheimer. He called a well-planned-out game. They attacked Gibbs on any linebacker. They stretched any situation, whereas you had Marquise Bell on Jameson Williams, and those drag routes were able to put Bell in a blender, had my guy Bland planking. This team knew how to attack us where our weaknesses were on both sides of the ball. They attacked the edges on the tackle sides from the defensive perspective. They didn't get no pressure up the middle, and that's cool. I get all of that. Our O-line was able to do that. But everything else, they stopped the run. They forced this team to be one-dimensional. They did anything and everything what was necessary. The score could have been worse if we didn't have a few pieces. So overall, the Lions, they're saying to themselves, let us sneak into the postseason. Let us get there. Look where we can do if we can keep the quarterback upright. And they had a slew of injuries and didn't mention that as an excuse, not one time. Not one time. Grit is their mindset, and grit and grinding is what they did to us. They blended us last night. And the Cowboys probably have one of the most televised games for us to look the way we look, and everybody can feel this impact. So what can we do enough to beat up the Cowboys? What can we do to correct this with these last spoonful of games left? Remove the politics. If Josh Butler is healthy enough to get out there on the field, throw him out there. You sacrifice a lot of players for him to be on his team, and if he's saying that he's healthy, we need to see something new. These guys are getting cooked as it relates to the DB side. Far as the linebacker play, I get it. You want to see what you can get in return from Murray out there at that spot. You don't want to say, hey, I made a mistake with that. I get all of that. But he can't cover, and that ain't new news, by the way. So if you thinking that he all of a sudden, through osmosis in these next or remaining games, is going to get better, I got Land on the Moon for sale. Discounted. 30% off. Inbox me. Inbox me. I can get you the moon. And I got unsinkable land in Florida, by the way. Hurricane proof. Tornado proof. All proof. Weather proofed over there. Tsunami proof. But the Cowboys need to figure out a way to replace those guys that's been continuing to put holes everywhere as it relates to coverage if they want to do anything. But this is a telltale sign that if you can't play and hang around with the big boys on game nights like this, then you don't deserve to be in the postseason. The postseason is not something that should be given to you. It should be earned. And if the Cowboys ultimately want to get there, they're going to have to make those corrections. We need to have a better approach as it relates to this offense. We can't have these slow starts and think that it's okay. You got to get your playmakers into some type of rhythm. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, in departing, not to beat up the Cowboys, we will be talking about more of this down the stretch. Be sure to check out Law Nation Sports on all platforms, and as well as post me your thoughts, your concerns down below. What are things that we need to improve at? And we still have a 9% chance. It's a chance. That's all we have at this point. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys. Peace. We up out.